friends, and happy Sunday to you. Look at this cutie. Well, she didn't start out so cute, but so I'm starting today on an 8x8 MDF board, and I'm using just some vintage papers that I had in my stash, just a bunch of scraps. And I've cut them into strips, and I was really trying to create some type of maybe wood look, and it actually ended up looking that way. Completely by accident, and you will see that this was mishmash of mishaps to create this, and how it played a role in the quote, and because I had a completely different idea for this piece, and that is the journey that it took. So I put everything down with my Deco Art matte medium, and now I'm using some Titan Buff Deco Art fluid acrylic in my brayer, and just kind of pushing those papers back and just beginning the process. And it was a little too bright, and so I added some transparent yellow oxide and toned it down and really kind of gave it an aged feel. And so here's where the blunders began. So I sprayed that with what I thought was water, and it was actually alcohol. And alcohol takes up everything. And so I sprayed it again with some water to try and get it off. Well, it took up all the paint. However, it was a wonderful effect because it looked like wood. I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to roll with it. And but the alcohol really affected the entire piece because I didn't get it completely off. So you'll see as we get on down the road here. So I have now I'm using Americana craft paints, and I'm using persimmons and alizarin crimson hue, and mixing those two together to kind of make my own color. So I've just got some painter's tape, and I wanted to mask off certain areas again to kind of create this wood look, and stencil the vintage wallpaper stencil design onto the background that wasn't masked, to kind of give it like an old vintage floral feeling of old vintage wallpaper on maybe a piece of wood. So I took the color that I mixed and I'm just stenciling now, and this is the vintage wallpaper duo stencil. So I peeled up the tape, and it peeled up my papers. And I loved how it looked. There was a bunch of spots that were peeling up, and I peeled some more of it up actually because I loved it so much, but I needed to go back over it with matte medium to seal it. So I went over the whole piece with matte medium, and just to kind of help seal it and maybe get some of that alcohol off of there. So now I'm using my small flowers stencil and just adding a touch of color and really wanting it to be light and kind of faded. So I found a butterfly that I liked the shape of, and I enlarged it to be my guide and to trace around for the outer image. Well, this didn't go right either. So the image was too small and really not exactly the right shape. So I tried to freehand it, and it didn't go very well, as you'll see in a minute. So I end up with just a really wonky, funky looking butterfly. I tried to correct it, and I just made it worse. So I wiped it off with some water, but again, I grabbed the alcohol, so I moved the alcohol bottle completely away from my desk, found a new image, and retraced it. So I have grabbed some Deco Art Media Fluid Acrylic in Cobalt Teal, and I'm just blocking in that butterfly now. So I wanted some depth and dimension and some highlights and lowlights. So I've also added, this is Americana Sea Breeze. It's Americana Craft Paint. And I want to do just really painterly brush strokes, kind of free. But that darker color underneath really gives it some depth. And you can see the darker color with the different brush strokes. So now I'm adding a little bit of gesso right there in the middle and around, basically in the middle, because I knew I was going to be putting some words down, and to kind of even out or add to some of that texture that's created by the papers, the torn papers, all of the little mishaps that have happened. So I've got my Americana glazing medium and raw Deco Art fluid acrylic raw in raw umber, and I'm mixing those up, and I'm just going to do a glaze over this. However, whatever it is that is on my piece, and I think it's still the alcohol, as I put my glaze down, it took up the paint, that the turquoise paint that I just painstakingly painted. But again, I loved the look. I loved the effect, and I went with it, and I grabbed a little bit more, only water because I'd moved the alcohol away from my desk, and pulled up some of that paint along with the glaze. And I just love the look. I love that those little bits peeking through. It was just perfect. I love how the journey took me in a completely different direction because I had a different phrase and a different saying, and I had a completely different idea for this piece. And with all of the blunders that happened throughout, it really took me on another journey. And I share a lot about that at the end of the video, so I hope you stick around for that. Right now I'm just shading everything in and really bringing definition to that kind of still wonky butterfly, but I've fallen in love with it. And adding some depth and some shading with my General's charcoal pencil. And it needed a little bit more oomph. It needed some highlights and a little bit more interest. It was looking too plain and too flat. So I added some, this is titanium white fluid acrylic drips, and I will add some quinacridone magenta fluid acrylic drips. So all of the supplies will be listed on the blog, and the link to the blog is down below in the YouTube description. So now I'm using my old school font to put my words down, the two of them anyway, and I'm using archival ink and my makeup brushes. So I hope you'll stick around for the conversation at the end. There's a lot of meaning in this, and I share a little bit of my story and my journey as far as trusting the process and trusting the journey, and how appropriate this piece and everything that went into it and all the mistakes, how it plays so much a part of my life and how I view things. So yeah, I hope you stick around. So now I'm just doing some additional doodling, and I just kind of am playing now and really enjoying the piece after I got through everything and it's come together. I hope you enjoyed this project, and if you did, please like and subscribe, and don't hesitate to leave a comment or any questions, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. I added some white in those little doodles, and it was just the perfect thing. It was the perfect pop of color or white to add some brightness. So of course I thought maybe I should add a little bit more, and no. So I ended up having to wipe those away. So I added some white, titanium white sprinkles, and I did off camera add a couple of dots with black and white with my Sharpie marker as well. And that is it, my friends. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I will see you next week.
Well, hello, loves, and happy Sunday to you. This eventually turned out cute, but man, what a journey. Oh, yay. So, okay, so pretty much everything went wrong with this that could possibly go wrong. And wow. So I had a completely different plan for this. I had a completely different thought process and quote, and as we create it, that just transforms our journey, our mission, our goals. It just, oh my goodness. So I went over everything in the video, but it just, there were so many different mistakes that happened along the way that turned out to be these wonderful, wonderful, happy accidents. And I love it when that happens. It's frustrating in the process, but when you can pause for a second and see the beauty in it, oh. And will I ever be able to recreate some of this? I don't know, but I'm gonna try for sure. So this torn paper, when I put the tape down, it tore, and it was dry. I dried it because I didn't want to tear the paper, but it tore anyway. So I love the look of it, and I'm going to try to recreate that again. The other thing was when I sprayed water on to my background, the turquoise here, to kind of get that little speckle effect. I actually grabbed my alcohol bottle, and it just started taking up the paint. But I love it. I mean, I positively love how it all came together. It just, wow. So, in the process of this, of course, there's this lesson in this journey. And it is so applicable to my life, and I'm sure to yours, that we need to trust the journey. And I just started writing things down as I was thinking about this process. I mean, the conversation that I was having in my head, I'm like, are you kidding me? What? How? I said a few swear words in there. I mean, it was just, but that is just how our life journey is. At least for me, that's how my life journey has always been. There has always been some kind of blunder or bad choice, or I mean, I've got a long list of things that I can say, oh man, I don't ever want to do that again, or wow, what a lesson that was, or are you kidding me? Throw those things out there like, I can't take any more. This is enough. And that is just always been my journey. But in the journey, there's the beauty. There's the beauty of the journey. And I wrote down, as all of this was happening, that every experience shapes me. And just in this example alone, it completely transformed the direction of where I was going. And that is how it's always been in my life too, where something happens and I had this straight line, and I had to stop and take a second path and come back around and then get back on, then another, and I know that me saying this when you're in the detour part of your journey is really hard to accept, to say trust your journey, because you're like, are you kidding me? I can't, this isn't how it was supposed to go. It's too painful, it's too hard, it's too, believe me, I have said it all. But I want to encourage you to be eyes wide open in the moment, even in the most difficult, the most painful, the toughest spots of your life, eyes wide open, because it's transforming you. It's shaping you. And we can choose to let it shape us for the good, or we can choose to let it shape us for the bad. And it's our choice. And I know that sounds harsh or hard or difficult, but it is the truth. And there are moments in my life when I have chosen to let it shape me for the bad. And I traveled down a road that was, I refer to it all the time as the dark days. And I traveled and circled down and circled, and I was spiraling out of control in so many ways. And then some other experience happened, and it was like a light came on, and I took another detour, and I was determined to not spiral anymore, and to make different choices and to do other things, and to let this particular hell that I was in shape me for the better. And I know it's hard and I know it's difficult, but if we trust the journey that we're on, however difficult it is or however wonderful it is, not all of our journeys are terrible, but even in the good times, everything shapes us, everything. And I just started writing, honor my journey, trust it. And this was the perfect example of that, because I could have quit, I could have given up, but there was something inside of me that knew that I could make it work. I could bring it back to beauty. And that is what I want you to get, that even in the midst of whatever you're going through, have this core underlying something in you, even if you feel like you're spiraling, that you can bring it, you can bring your journey back to beauty. That there are these tiny little nuggets of wisdom in this journey that you're on that will serve you for the better in the long run. And you'll take your detour and then you'll get back on to where you're headed. Or maybe your journey wakes you up so much that this journey that you were originally on, you no longer want to be on. And that was my case. I took a whole detour and then took another whole street and got off the one I was on and took another one. And I'm so glad that I did, and I'm so glad I listened to my heart and that I trusted myself and I trusted the journey that I was on, and that I didn't let it make me bitter or angry. And let me tell you, it was a process. I'm not saying that, oh, I just woke up one day and everything was sunshine and rainbows. Oh, no. It was hard, the hardest, hellish work I've ever done. But it was worth it. When I look at my life now and in the place that I'm at, and I knock on wood on that because tomorrow everything could change, of course. But I have this incredible depth and wisdom within me to know that no matter what happens, however difficult it is, and oh Lord, please, I'm going to make it. And I'm going to make it okay. Maybe not right away, but eventually I'll come out of that and be back on the road again. And I'm going to take every single nugget of my journey and learn from it. The lessons in the journey, oh my gosh. I think about my path, and I just wouldn't take any of it back. And it took me a long time to say that. Because there were days when I prayed, please take me out of this. Please let me get past this. And I needed to walk through it. I needed to walk through the hard, dark, difficult part of my journey to get the lessons, to get here, to have that strength, to have the wisdom, to have the knowledge, to know that no matter what happens, I'm going to make it. So I say all that to you today, and use this as an example, as to find the beauty in all of the mistakes, all of the ugly, all of the oopses, and all of the are you kidding me's. Find the beauty in that. Find the lessons. Sit in it, learn from it, and then continue back on your journey. Take your time. Take your time. And I know that's hard to hear because you're like, I just want to be out of this. I want to be done. I get it. I totally 100% get it. Just know that there's beauty on the other side. All right, my friends. I hope your Sunday is awesome, and I hope that it is restful, and I hope that you're finding beauty in your journey, that you're trusting where you are right now, that there's a purpose for it, however hard and difficult and wonderful and convoluted and all of those things that it might be right now, that trust it. There's a reason for it. Eyes wide open and learn all the lessons. All right, loves, have a wonderful Sunday, and always, always know that you are loved.